Namaskar, I am Tilak Devasher and you are watching The Great Game Reloaded. This is a follow-up to my earlier episode on Iran. The turmoil began on 28th December. Protests on the streets, an economy in free fall, an internet blackout cutting a nation off from the world, and outside Iran, a dangerous chorus of threats, sanctions, and talk of intervention. And now a number that demands the world's attention. 3,200. That is the reported death toll from the latest crackdown, according to the Norway-based Iran Human Rights NGO. Why has the state responded with such severity? And what does the future look like for Iran, the region, and the world? This uprising began with the economy. The rial collapsed to record lows. Inflation surged. Food, fuel, and medicine became unaffordable. Merchants shut shops. Wages evaporated. The trigger was economic. The deeper cause was political. The first demonstrations were about prices. Within days, they became about power. Slogans turned openly political. Crowds targeted symbols of the state. Protests spread beyond Tehran into minority regions, industrial towns, and border provinces. This was not one city, it was a national mood. And then the state responded. Security units moved in, arrests multiplied, hospitals filled. Then communication connections were cut, social media vanished, messaging apps stopped, news sites disappeared. Human rights groups, hospital sources, and local networks now report around 3,200 people killed in this wave of unrest. Protesters shot on the streets, detainees who died in custody, bystanders caught in security operations. The government disputes the figure. Independent verification is difficult because the internet went dark. Iran's leadership reached for tools it has used before: force, silence, and narrative control. This is not improvisation, it is doctrine. The goal is not reconciliation, it is to exhaust the protesters. In the modern age, an internet blackout is not merely censorship. It is a tactical instrument. It isolates protesters, breaks coordination, and prevents evidence from reaching the outside world. This is how a state seeks to outlast its people. Now, the reason the state can do this is because Iran is not a personalized dictatorship. It is an institutional system. At the top, the supreme leader. Beneath him, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. Parallel pillars, the judiciary, intelligence services, clerical networks. They control internal security, key industries and banks, border forces, and cyber units. And the narrative of the revolution itself. Iran has faced protests before, in 2009, 2017, 2019, and 2022. Each time, the system bent. It did not break because coercive power remained unified. History is unforgiving on this point. Regimes fall not when people protest, but when power fractures at the top. So far, there are no visible splits. The other problem for the protesters is the absence of a credible alternative. Inside Iran, leaders are arrested, networks disrupted, and coordination crippled by blackouts. Outside voices in exile, monarchists, Republicans, activists call for change. The most prominent is Reza Pahlavi, son of the last Shah, urging protests and appealing to Western lawmakers. But inside Iran, support for a return to monarchy is uncertain. This makes the powerful movement vulnerable and leaderless. The world is watching, and this is where the danger rises. Washington has urged Iranians to keep protesting, that help was on the way, and threatened, quote unquote, very strong action if protesters were executed. New penalties, including secondary tariffs on countries trading with Iran, have followed. Israel already in a shadow war with Iran, has intensified its diplomatic and covert campaign. Once foreign powers are seen as participants rather than observers, a domestic crisis becomes a proxy struggle. That feeds the regime's narratives and gives it narrative control. This is not a protest, this is foreign subversion. That narrative justifies harsher crackdowns, mass arrests, emergency laws, and potentially executions. For ordinary Iranians, this is the worst case scenario. At the time of recording on 16th January, the protests seem to have been smothered. The US has signaled a possible de escalation, saying the killings appear to be ending. President Trump said he had been told that plans for 800 executions in Iran had stopped, but warned that all options, including military action, were on the table against Iran. The consequences of military action would be immediate. Energy shock. 1/5 of global oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. Regional retaliation. US bases, shipping lanes, and allied states become targets. Nuclear risk. Iran's nuclear program shifts from leverage to last resort. There is a realization that there is no clean war with Iran. That is why even America's allies are uneasy. Across West Asia, capitals are, however, preparing for the worst, even though no one wants a war. Return to the number 3,200. Each digit is a human being, a student, a shopkeeper, a worker, a passerby. This is not collateral. It is the price of a state choosing control over compromise. For many Iranians, the question is no longer whether the system is harsh. It is whether it can ever be just. For India, the stakes are direct. Energy security. Any disruption in Hormuz spikes prices and inflation. Connectivity. Projects like Chabahar, India's gateway to Central Asia, are jeopardized. Safety of Indian students. India is preparing to fly them back home. This is among the gravest internal crises Iran has faced. Yes, protests are wider, more political, more defiant. But the IRGC remains loyal, the judiciary uncompromising, the clerical establishment intact. There are no visible elite defections, no military split. The system is under pressure, but not yet in free fall. Iran stands at a crossroads. 3,200 lives, if not many more, lost. A nation in revolt, a state choosing force, and a world debating what to do next. This is a developing story. I will be back to keep you posted. I am Tilak Devasher. Thank you for watching. Do like, share, and comment. Namaskar and Jai Hind.